if you look at this beautiful table that producer Shira made for me, it's color-coded and everything. There's no purple on it. Head coaches in the league in 23-24, Sean Lynn, Nathan Smith, Alex Austerbury, Dave Ward, and then Susie Appleby, Rachel Taylor, Amy Turner, Giselle, Vicky McQueen, Joe Yap. More women than men. In 24-25, there are 2 women left. And unfortunately, at international level, the indictment is much stronger because of England, Canada, New Zealand, France, Australia, Ireland, Scotland, Italy, USA, and Wales. For 2 years, it was only Gaël Mignot and David Ortiz co-coaching in France until Joe Yap was appointed in Australia. We are just seeing great women doing great things at PWR level, and we are seeing them moving to GB7s, which is great. And obviously we have great hopes for someone like a Rachel Taylor to take up an international position somewhere. LJ Lewis is under 20s, right?
Yeah.
For England. But England women...
Lou Meadows
and Sarah Hunter.
Yeah,
yes.
they're involved.
But England has never had a woman coaching the women's team.
Correct.
That's unreal.
So it's evolutionary, isn't it? Let's be honest. So I think and with Trailfinders, that's kind of a bit of what's men have come from the pitch and are now coaching. And I think it is an evolutionary process. And sometimes as well, and this is maybe controversial, as females we don't help that. So let's think about referees. If a female referee walks on a pitch, sometimes people go, oh. Right? Not always, but they do. And that makes it really hard for female referees to progress because there's an attitude that may come. If Catherine Spencer, when you read her book, she's ex-England captain, she writes in her book, the first time she saw me walking towards her as going to be her coach in the thing, and she thought, oh God, it's going to be a woman. She says it and she's apologised, and she said, however, turns out to be X, Y, and Z, which is fine. But that was her response, and she's owned it in the book. People have this belief that we're not ready yet, or we're not this and we're not that, and you never find out until you let people do it. And then the problem is then though that you've got to get it right because the next ones are following behind you.
Yes.
And how much support do we have to get that right? Because it is hard. It's a really hard role to be a head coach, and then to be a head coach of a national side. It is hard, and it can be an incredibly lonely place being the head coach because when your team wins, they don't need you. And it's true, they don't need you. Everything's, well, as soon as your team loses, everyone's like, and that's fine. That's the nature of the job. And also you have to deliver the bad selection messages. You have to do this. You have to make unpopular decisions at times. You set the parameters. You set the energy. You set what people, and so it can be a really difficult space. And I think when a female is now doing that in what has always predominantly been a male domain, and now they're very attractive jobs now.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. To coach a women's premiership side, I hate it if people think it used to be a stepping stone or whatever to something else. It isn't. And actually, I think that coaching the women's premiership is harder because of the squad management, because they work, because they do this, because the international rules are different in the men's game. So the men's game, the club gets paid
Squad
for them
size
going
is
off.
different.
Everything, right?
Yeah.
So you so much management to do usually in the evenings as well. So everybody's doing everything. The girls and so the staff are, and then bang, you've got to be really on it between 6 and 9 p.m. as a coach. So it's a really, really hard job. And yet more and more people, I think, now are realising that they need a female head coach, not necessarily as the head, but the diversity of the coaching team. Because some of the issues that are happening in squads where females are because the males don't necessarily understand coaching a female player and coaching females and what their reactions will be to certain things. So therefore, people are now beginning to realise that, and so the females are now, and the value that we're adding is being recognised, especially when there's problems or difficulties. It's usually, right, let's bring the female coach in to sort it out. And then they realise that the value is there. And we play the game differently. This is my big thing. Females play the game differently to the males. And if you try and impose how men are doing the game onto the women's game, you're not going to be successful because it's different. The attributes that we have when we play the game are different to the men's. And if you go just to a pure power-based game with the female sides, that's not going to bring out the best. And it's also not going to capture the public, which is what we're trying to do. Public wants to see rugby, the ball moving. That's when people get really, really excited. Yes, the purists need to see and I've always quoted with the driving maul. I'm like, and in sevens, there's no driving maul.
Yeah.
Hey, there could be.
I know.
We used to have,
we've done one
we used to have a
once.
three-player driving
Let's
maul.
not go there, all right? Let's not go there. But
No, we scored from it. Got into the final.
So-
let's not go there.
Really takes them by surprise.
Sevens.
Really takes them by surprise.
Houston Sevens back in the day.
Coach
Won the
Giselle
tournament.
says no.
One of the
It's
only
not
tournaments we won.
Try
Giselle.
to try.
That said,
Try to
my
try.
assistant coach started talking mauls to me the other day, and I was like, looked at him, I was like, no, Will, no.
Doesn't have to be a
Anyway.
ball. You can peel out of it.
I know.
You'll see.
Come on, you two are backs. You shouldn't be so pro. Or you
Pro.
could probably sneak a few tries off the back of some of those.
Gotcha.
Just
Did you
wanna-
see her at the weekend? That was one of them.
Yeah.
Through
Just
the
wanna-
head, through the dislocated her shoulder.
I did.
Just want to caveat everything I said before by giving props to Japan's coach at the last Rugby World Cup, Leslie McKenzie,
Yes.
the one woman
Yes.
representing at that World Cup. You said on the Telegraph Women's Sports podcast, I totally subscribe to best person for the job. The best person for the job could well be a woman, but society isn't always ready for that. Yeah.
And that's what I mean by it being evolutionary. People have to see that we do well, that we do know what we're doing, that we can run these squads before it becomes, it's the see it to be it game again, isn't it? And it's about giving opportunity, and that people, I always really respect the people who've given the opportunity to. So the Joe Yap is such a good coach, and the Aussie people have gone,
Here we go.
yeah,
But does this mean, I just had a thought,
uh-oh.
does this mean that now that you are the GB7's coach, in 2027, when the Lions women tour to New Zealand, you will be the best placed person to coach a team made up of the 4 nations?
Don't look at us.
You can look at me.
I read in the paper the other day that Maggie's backing Mitch to do that job.
Oh, really?
Who is?
Maggie
Max.
Alphonse. Yeah. So again,
You're not answering my question,
Yeah,
though.
no.
That was a
Avoided it.
real
Good at that.
swerve.
I swerved it, but because your communication
On the
direct, you brought me
Matic.
straight back onto it. It's a massive opportunity, isn't it? So you would never say, you can't at this stage say no to anything, and anybody can ever say. But I am doing what I'm doing, and every coach will say that. But it's like I had the privilege of doing the first Women's Barbarians, and obviously it's very different. But again, that has a vibe that goes with what it is, and we created that vibe, and it carried on, and it was a fabulous thing.
Okay, so you're Lions coach. You're going to New Zealand 2027. Mo's your captain.
Manifest.
Tell us your staff.
Touchwood.
Who are you taking?
Cool! Wow! What
Scouts
question?
Water carrier.
Scouts Touchwood.
What for now?
Touching-
Touching captain.
Yeah.
Can't touch wood for things like that. Honestly. Sorry, that was a joke.
I would want a staff that's diverse, that has experiences, that you take some that are,
If I'm not playing, I'll be your backs coach.
there you go, you see, different, but diverse.
See the difference between you and I went water carrier, you were backs coach.
Just a really diverse coaching team, real experience, people who understand, like it's bringing players together rapidly from different nations who've beaten
Empathetic.
seven bells out of each other for a long time, and you've got to do that really, really fast. You've got to create a culture really, really fast.